Ugh. Damn. No, I can go for the Twins. Bases loaded.
Yo.
Wait, you want me to start? You're going?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. Start over. I didn't know you were going.
For what?
Oh, I'll just cut it. Yo. Boys are back. Another day, another dollar.
That's the saying.
That's the word.
We're locked in now.
That's the word. Yeah, it took us a while, but we're locked in. Ready to roll? Ready to roll.
So let's jump into it.
Let's jump into it. First, we're going to talk about NBA draft or NBA lottery.
Lottery draft order.
Order was...
Give you an update.
Yeah.
It happened on Sunday.
Sunday at 3 p.m., I believe.
3 p.m. Eastern time.
Oh, Eastern time.
So 2 p.m. Central time.
Yep.
Kind of a weird time to do it.
Kind of, yeah. You'd think it would have been done at night, but it's okay. It was right before the game, I believe. The first game. On Sunday.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So
but even so, I feel like they should have done it like, I don't know.
In between them?
Yeah, between the games.
Yeah, because I think the first game started at 2:30.
Yeah.
And then it was 2:30, and then ours was at 7. So you easily could have done it in between.
Or like right before the second game.
Yeah,
prime
most
time.
people. Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So started off, we got the Atlanta Hawks with the first pick. Surprisingly, actually, I think they only had 3% chance.
Well, so explain to the folks that aren't aware how the draft lottery odds are selected.
Yeah, so from all the teams that didn't make the playoffs,
Yep.
based off of those records, so obviously the worse your record is, the better chances. You have more ping pong balls technically to choose from. All the way, I think it's, what does it start at? 12?
It starts at 14%.
14. No, but 14. How many teams are there not in the lottery? Is it 4?
14.
14 teams. So then, yeah, obviously, if you're the 14th best team, you have the lowest odds. The worst odds at
The lowest odds to get the first
pick,
overall
all the way up
pick,
to the front.
yeah.
So then, yes, that was decided. So a lot of people were thinking, obviously, for another 2 years in a row, that Pistons were going to have the best chance. I don't know who they sent, but
They did have the best chance.
they just didn't complete it.
So Detroit and Washington were the two worst teams.
Mm-hmm.
They had 14% chance to get the number one pick.
Which is the highest, like you said.
Yep. And then because Charlotte and Portland had they tied in record, they were tied for percentage at 13.3 and 13.2.
Yeah.
Then San Antonio, Toronto, Memphis, Utah, then Brooklyn again.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. Oh no. Well, Brooklyn, but Houston gets it.
Yeah.
So Houston had 2. Then Atlanta. So Atlanta had a 3% chance to get the number one pick.
It says the Spurs also got the Raptors one. Does that say on that there? This is San Antonio Spurs via
Yes.
Toronto Raptors. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Atlanta had a 3% chance of getting the number one pick. Chicago 2. Houston 1.5. Which then goes to Oklahoma City. Sacramento at 0.8. Golden State at 0.7.
Yeah.
So, when the lottery balls fell where they may,
Mm-hmm.
the Hawks got the first pick.
Hawks got the first pick.
And they only had 3% chance.
Which kind of threw everything for a loop. Granted, when you watch it, they do it the opposite way. I think they go from 14 to 1.
Yep.
But
when they choose the balls, they probably do 1 to 14, but then just present
it. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because you have to do it that way, right? Because you have the most balls in
there.
Yeah.
Do you think that they probably don't take the balls out after each one? They probably just leave them in, and if they pick that team again, then they just set it off to the side and pick another one?
Yeah, well, I think what I would think is they would just do 14 balls.
No.
Right? Or you just do so you just do one pick it up, that's the number 1 pick. Do another ball, that's the number 2 pick. But if it's the same team, you just throw it to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
do you think they redo it where they say, hey, the Hawks were picked, so we're going to go through the balls, take out the rest of the Hawks, redo it?
That would be so time consuming.
Yeah. So you think it's just easier to do it?
Probably. Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know.
So if anybody knows, you could let us know. It's the same guy every year that does the balls. I don't know who he is. He must be like something of the... Because it's not silver.
It's the guy that does the second round. He has a title. I can't remember what it is.
Obviously
Mark Tatum.
Yeah.
But he's the one that announces the second round of the NBA draft as well.
Yeah.
All right, so number 2 pick?
Washington Wizards.
Yep, so they
the best odds,
stayed
tied
in the
with
same
us.
spot that they should have been.
Yep. Number 3, it says we're the Brooklyn Nets, but the Houston Rockets get the Brooklyn Nets.
Mm-hmm. So they jumped up.
So they jumped up significantly.
They were 4.5% to get the number 1 pick, and they jumped up to the top 3.
Yeah, so then you have the Spurs,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the Detroit Pistons,
Yep.
who also had the highest.
And if you have the highest, there's something where you can't fall out of the top 5.
Yeah, if you have the highest, yeah.
Yep. So that has happened the last 2 years for the Detroit Pistons, where they were supposed to get the number 1 pick, and they ended up at number 5.
So do you think? Yeah, I wonder if it's like if you don't get chosen, do they just say, okay, you have? They don't even pick a ball probably. They just give it to you. Obviously.
If it gets to that point,
Yeah, they just give it to you because there's no point.
it would have to be because they can't get any lower than that.
Right. Then you had the Charlotte Hornets, who also had very good odds. I think they were
They
at
had
3.
the 3rd best. Yep.
3rd. Then you have the Trailblazers
So
at 7.
Yeah. So the Hornets fell down a lot. The Pistons fell down a lot.
Yeah. Then you have the Trailblazers at 7.
They fell down a little bit.
Well, I think what put a huge wrench in it was obviously the Hawks and obviously the Nets.
Yeah.
Because
The Hawks and the Nets bumping up. Then pretty much everybody else dropped down.
Yeah.
Like kind of slotted in where they should.
Right, and then you had the Spurs via the Toronto Raptors. So the Spurs will have the 4th and the 8th pick.
Yep.
We then have the Grizzlies, Jazz. So this must be the Raptors. Okay, so via the Raptors. You have Grizzlies, Jazz, Bulls, Oklahoma City Thunder based off of the Houston Rockets. So there you go. So Oklahoma City has the number 12 pick
Mm-hmm.
and is still at a 2-2 tie in the series. So
Yeah.
not bad.
At some point, they'll have to start selling their draft picks
Yes.
for actual players that are in
Some
the
would say
NBA.
veteran players, yeah.
That are already in the NBA.
Yeah, because
They
you
can't just
keep
keep.
rebuilding if you're trying to win.
Yeah, they can't just keep bringing in all these young guys.
Yeah, so then you have the Sacramento Kings at 13, and then you have the Trailblazers again via the Golden State Warriors at 14.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you make... Oh, so they lost. They didn't make the... Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, if you lose the play-in, you're still in the lottery
Got it.
because technically you didn't make the playoffs.
Yep, technically, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll do a little bit more in-depth on the draft, but that's just the draft order right there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of why... I mean... Well, I remember back in the days, the Timberwolves were up there.
Back in the day, yes, they were.
Feels like, what, last year? 2 years ago? Got Ant? Didn't we just have the number 1 overall pick 2 years ago?
This is his 3rd year.
So
I
3 years
think.
ago?
Yes.
And before that, it was Cat?
A couple years.
A couple of years before that?
So it was Cat's 28.
Is he 28 already?
Yeah.
Plays like it. $2015.
Yeah, so that's 9 years ago.
And then Anthony Edwards is 2020.
So he's probably 28, 29. What does it say?
28.
Yeah, 28. I feel like we looked that up one time.
Yeah, so he's 28. So he was that. So we had the first overall pick there, and then we had the first overall pick in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've always
but
been...
the thing about it is we also had the first pick for Andrew Wiggins, and Anthony Bennett ended up here. He was the first overall pick.
From the Cavs.
Yeah. So, like, we were up there quite a bit.
But we were up there almost every year.
Not this year.
Or chances to be up there.
Not this year.
Yep, so not this year, thankfully, and see what happens. I mean, it's like... The hard part is this, is even with the draft order, you look at it and it's like, all right, the Detroit Pistons at 5. Like, they were so bad that, like, I'm not sure. I mean, you're obviously getting a top 5, but they have a long way to go, too.
Yes, that's the problem. They keep getting screwed, and they need all the help they can get.
Right. Just not working, and a lot of these teams could use a lot of help. Obviously, like the San Antonio Spurs at 4 and 8, that'll help a lot. But so we'll see what happens. Just got to draft and develop the guys. So
that's right. But in the meantime, playoffs are still happening.
Yeah, playoffs are still happening
for the good teams.
For the teams that were not in the lottery. So
we got the Celtics and the Cavs 3-1 now.
Yeah, this series could probably be over by the time you're listening to this.
Probably, yes.
Should be. I think it's like the Celtics did the same thing they did in the first round, where in game 2 they were just kind of like, flat tire, and then they were like, all right, we're done messing around.
But you want to know, I don't know about that, because the last game that they played, Donovan Mitchell did not play, but yet it was arguably the closest game.
Oh, they're game 4?
4, yeah. They're game 4.
Oh, yeah, they played well. I mean, they did play well, and at the end of the game, to be honest, I will say this, they were up a decent amount. The Celtics had control, but it kind of came back.
It was close.
Yeah, it came back. I mean, they were only winning at halftime by 5 or 6 points. It was very close the whole game, 100%. I mean, Darius Garland just started balling out.
Which I wasn't expecting, at least.
Well, especially without Donovan Mitchell. I didn't know he was going to sit out.
It was a late scratch.
So, yeah, they played well.
Hopefully he plays game 5, because otherwise...
Series is over.
Well,
I think the series is over either way, but I think...
It'll probably be over, yeah. But, I mean, that's the weird thing. It's like, I expected last game to be a blowout when he didn't play, and it wasn't. So, I mean, it's hard to say that I expect another blowout when it was literally the exact same circumstance last game, except it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things when your best player like that is out, you have to see all the guys that step up. And Garland actually did start playing well in the second half, and then you had Strus hit a few.
Yeah, the problem is he had 30 points on 27 shots. That's not going to cut it.
100%.
You can't have that many shot attempts and only score 30 points. That's like Cat having 13 points on 18 shots. Not a good ratio there.
No, you need to be way more efficient, especially if you're a number 1, number 2 option on the team.
Exactly. But we'll see how the Celtics game continues, or the Celtics series continues. But I think we can move them on to the next round.
Yeah. And I think we said that right away, and I think it's pretty obvious. I think the team they'll play, transitioning into that series, is a lot more interesting.
We don't know who the team is that
right.
they're going to play.
It's just a very interesting series now, and it's kind of gone back and forth. Obviously, it's kind of an interesting way. Both the home teams have taken taken both games.
Yep.
It's Which 2-2. Is pretty common, I feel like.
To be expected.
Yeah.
Most common is...
Which is crazy, most common, but there has... Out of all these teams in the second round, this is the only series that has done that.
Yeah.
So, kind of crazy. But, at the same time, I mean, it's a good series. Pacers... I don't know. I think it's one of those things where... I mean, I did pick the Knicks in 5, which obviously is impossible. But then at the same time...
That is going to be impossible.
Yeah, that actually is physically impossible. So that is an incorrect pick. But the difference also is, I think what's crazy with the Pacers... Well, the injuries are hurting the Knicks.
They are, and they keep coming.
Yeah, and they keep coming, and then you have guys that are playing a lot more minutes and just tired, and this Indiana Pacers team is just running.
Yep.
Consistently every time, and so it'll be an exciting series. I think it will be probably one that could go 7 if they continue to just win at home.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I mean, it's almost like, to me, the Knicks are kind of hanging on, just trying to get from one game to the next.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the Pacers are playing well, like in spurts, but they are just a more inconsistent team. So they have those lulls. Mm-hmm. But it's like the Knicks are just grasping and trying to hang on. I mean, they're getting blown out when they lose, and then they're barely winning the games that they win.
Yeah.
Whereas the Pacers, obviously, they have those games that they're blowing them out, and it's like, ooh, yeah, that looks good. But then the games that they lose, it's like they just have kind of lulls, which happens when you play that fast and don't play defense.
Right. Right. Well, and I think that, and the biggest thing too, I mean, those games that they lost, like you said, were within striking distance at the end.
Mm-hmm.
One call here, one bucket here. It could be a different story. But, I mean, I don't know. It is just, you can definitely tell it's hurting the Knicks. And I think we said this before, too, with the Knicks, is you rely on one guy so heavily, Jalen Brunson. I mean, fatigue wears on you. There's fatigue.
Yeah, but you can kind of see it, honestly, in most series. Most of the series, like, the teams are definitely starting to lean on their main guys.
Oh, 100%.
Like, you can see it in the Wolves series. You can see it, I mean, less in on the Celtics, but, like, you've seen it on the Cavs throughout the playoffs. Like, all of these teams, it's starting to get to the point where the main guys are just, like, they have to play well, and you just need the secondary and the role players to just kind of fill in the gaps.
Yeah. I also think it's hard. I mean, we've talked about, the Celtics, but I think it's hard. Well, not hard with the Celtics, but they just have so many elite players that can kind of just take over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you have a bad game from Jason Tatum, okay, well, Jaylen Brown can step up.
Right.
Or you have Derek White's kind of cooled off a ton, but it hasn't really even impacted anything because the other two guys are scoring significant.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those
things.
things.
At some point he was going to have to cool down.
100%. But then it's even they don't even have Porzingis.
Right.
So it's kind of like one of those things in my eyes where it's just like you don't even have one of your best players, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
Once he comes back, jeez, scary. So we'll see what happens. The Knicks series. Back to that will be a good series, I think. If it goes 7, it goes 7. I don't know if any team competes with the Celtics. So
yeah, no, I haven't seen anything that's going to
change that.
I think the Pacers matchup would be more interesting because they play such a specific style, and that it's kind of like when we were talking. What is that? 3, 4, 5 weeks now. When I said that the Hawks would be the most intriguing first round matchup because of that reason. They play a more specific style of offense, and if you get hot, like, it's going to be pretty tough to stop.
Yeah, it's all gas, no defense.
Yeah, so the Pacers is maybe just like a step better than the Hawks in that same kind of style.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that the Pacers for sure are better players
than the Hawks.
Yes. I mean, night and day, and I think the difference.
Oh, you mean they have better?
But the difference
better roster than the team that didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, the difference though with the Pacers too is the Pacers bench has been stepping up, and they come in and T.J. McConnell has kind of reignited that flame.
T.J. McConnell is playing.
Obi Toppin comes off the bench. You got Ben Shepherd off the bench. I mean, you got good players.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like their team. I mean, like you said, it's one of those things where you got to keep up with the pace. So if you have an off shooting night, they're probably going to score a decent amount of points.
You'd think.
So,
mm-hmm.
Moving on to the other side.
Yeah, which one do you want to start with?
I think we'll probably talk a little bit more about the other one. So the Thunder, Mavericks, 2-2.
Yep.
Could have been 3-1.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I went to bed before the end of that game.
I didn't really see it, but I woke up to it. But I will say this, and we've said this before. This is why I do think whoever wins the Timberwolves Nuggets goes to the finals. Is because both of these teams have those moments where they what's your word you say? Lull. And so it's like you look at this game, Shea scores 34, next closest guy is 18, Chet. But then you look at the other side, Kyrie Irving 4 of 11 shooting, Luka 6 of 20. Well, if you can hold those two guys to that many points, you're probably going to win the game.
Yeah, they were also in foul trouble the whole time. Like at the beginning of the game,
Tim Hardaway's back.
At least in the first half, at one point it was like those two guys, Luka and Kyrie, they had like 4 out of the 7 fouls on Dallas, or something like that.
Well, I think it's just interesting to watch.
Good for them.
When you watch that series, what's so much different about that series than our series is, it's like the Mavericks do not play defense.
Yeah, they do.
Barely. Luka has literally. Okay.
I disagree with that.
They
were one of the best defensive teams in the league this year.
Watch the next game.
Doug, they were one of the best defense teams.
That's
in the league
great.
this year.
Then what's going on in the playoffs?
I mean, they gave up 100 points.
Yeah, that's fine. But this is what this is a team. I
Are you
will tell
talking
you.
offense or defense? Because they only gave up 100 points.
I'm talking defense. Watch the next game. Whoever plays if the Mavericks advance, they will get swept. I'm calling a sweep right now. It doesn't matter Nuggets or Timberwolves. I'm calling a sweep.
You want to bet on it?
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to get swept.
2-1 odds. Well, that's. I mean, you're getting swept.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get.
But they have to make it first.
Right.
So if they make it, it's null.
If
they don't make
it, it's null.
Yep. 10 to me, 5 to you.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Swept. They don't play defense, and they don't try. Luka, I don't even know if Luka's still hurt, but he does not play like he's 100%.
No, he is definitely still hurt. His knee is not great.
Right. So it's hard when your best player is banged up, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So you expect something out of Kyrie. I'm just saying they will get swept.
No, they're not going to.
They will get swept.
Okay.
I should have taken 5-1 odds. That's probably even more realistic.
Yeah, we already saw the handshake.
Yeah, that's a classic. Andrew Paul knows how that goes. He's always Andrew Paul's a big swindler too. When it comes
Oh my
to
gosh, he's the biggest.
I'm not saying Nairn is close to that because Paul is for sure the biggest swindler.
Yeah, not even
but
close.
So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
I mean, the hardest part too is you go back to OKC.
I mean, they had it right there.
Yeah.
To go up 3-1. That's what makes it the hardest for them.
Yeah.
Is it was right there, and there were clear things that they could have done to push them over the edge to get to that 3-1. I mean, they missed a bajillion free throws. What did they shoot from the free throws?
12 of 23.
Yeah, 12 of 23, and the Thunder 23 of 24. So right there, you've shot basically the same amount, and you've made 10 less.
You're almost below 50%.
Right.
So if you make 5 more free throws, you win the game, quote unquote.
Yeah. Yeah, you get half of the ones that you're behind them, even though you shot the same amount.
Yeah.
Like, that is, I mean, in theory, pretty easy.
Yeah.
But not easy enough, I guess.
I guess, yeah. So we'll see. I mean, when you go back, OKC has looked okay, but I don't know.
Also, let's just take a moment.
Boy.
The third best player on the Mavs.
PJ Washington. Actually, not even the third. He might be. He's stepping up to be
He is
top 2.
hooping.
He might be top 2.
How long ago did I say that he was the third best player?
Beginning of the series.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, it might have
Last
been
series.
beginning of the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, he is hooping.
He needs
he
to
came
hoop.
ready to go.
He needs to hoop.
Yeah,
I mean, he is playing very well, and that is the key. I mean, he's been the leading scorer the last 2 games.
Yeah.
So
that's because he's shooting a lot and he's making a bunch of threes. Like a bunch of threes. Check that box score.
He's pause. Was he the number 1 scorer on their team the first game too?
I don't know.
No, Kyrie was. Damn.
So 3 out of the
3
4
out of
games.
4.
Wow. Hey, just saying.
Do you think he's still the number 2, or he's number 3?
Yes.
Even though behind Kyrie.
I'm pretty certain that no matter what he does for the next 3 years,
if he's on that team,
and 3 years might be underselling it. It could be 7 or 8 years. He could do whatever he wants in 7 and 8 years, and he still will not be better than Kyrie or Luka.
No, yeah. No.
So, like,
he's a great 3.
There's no way that he'll be 1 or 2 ever.
He's a good 3.
Yes.
So,
right now, especially.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, he's a pretty efficient shooter.
Yeah, he's been making it.
Yeah, so good number 3. That's what you need.
You do need that.
For a championship team.
Yep.
So that was a call out too.
And then the last series, Nuggets, Wolves.
Yeah.
A lot of swings of emotions here.
Yeah.
2-0 to 2-2. 3-game series to move on, which is the case in the other side as well, with Mavericks Thunder. But 3-game series to move on.
Yeah.
Where's your head at?
Well, it's definitely not in a better spot than it was last week. I think last week we posed the question of, did we have the moment where we thought, okay, this team is it?
Could do it.
And I feel like now after this, we might have spoken too soon, or we might have, I don't want to say jinxed them, but like, yeah, it's been a different ride. But I think here's the reality, and we've said this off air. You're facing the defending champs. Sure, they might have a different roster. Sure, they might do whatever. Of course, they're going to change up their game plan
Correct.
Going into Game 3 and Game 4.
Yep.
So at some point you have to take the punches and you also have to somewhat adjust. And I think the difference is the first 2 games we came out and we had a different intensity to us and a different like grit and playing hard. Granted, I will say this, there's been a lot of plays where some fouls have been called that were not called in the first 2 games who have made an impact.
Yep.
Because when you look at the first 2 games, our defense was literally like
But
ball hawking.
these guys are NBA players.
100%.
They need to be able to adjust to the way that the refs are calling the game.
100%. I 100% agree. I'm just saying it is a difference, but I also think at the same time, like, go back to that ball hawking defense. Go back to that. It's like now, I don't know. We've just kind of looked like a lull. That's the word of the day. I don't know how to spell it, but it's your word. I don't know how to say it either, really.
Can you try and spell it?
Lol. L-O-L-A.
No.
U-L. Lol. Lol. Lol.
L-U-L-L.
Lol.
They're like lullaby, but without the A-B-Y.
Just the lull.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's been a different team to watch. I mean, it's kind of been frustrating because you watch the first 2 games and just being a dominant performance, and then you watch Game 3. Granted, Game 3 is a little different because you were getting your ass kicked the whole time.
Yes.
I mean, granted, give Denver credit, they're making shots that they were not making in the first game.
Everybody is.
And these other players, and we said this was a quote off air, random players are making a lot of shots.
Complete randoms.
So it's been hard, but I think at the same time, you need your big guys to step up. You need Cap to step up. You need somebody else. Nah has not been necessarily hitting as many shots. I think he was 1 of 8 or 1 of 7 from 3 last game.
I wouldn't say necessarily the big guys. I would say the guys
players
outside of Ant for the Wolves. And that's why the Nuggets have come back and made it a series, is because all the rest of the guys are filling in the gaps. I mean, at the beginning of the series, Jamal Murray was nowhere to be found, and Jokic was trying to do it all by himself. And now you got Aaron Gordon scoring 27 points in a game. You got Jamal Murray attacking the basket and scoring close to 20. You got all their reserve guys making, 50 to 60 to 70% of their shots. And so all of their secondary and role player guys have stepped up to the challenge in Game 3 and Game 4, whereas it's a complete opposite conversation for the Wolves. I mean, you got all the guys in Games 1 and 2, like Nas played well, Nah played well. Jaden didn't really have to score much, but he was playing well from a defensive perspective. And then Game 3 and 4, all those guys have kind of just like disappeared.
Yeah.
And so
Game 3 is kind of kind of an outlier, I feel like, because towards the end of the game, it was just like, okay, bench is clear.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a number of things that you can look at up until that point, you know? I mean, I think that the biggest thing that has been apparent is it's almost like the role players, they need the defense to be high level, and then that gets them in the flow of the game, and then they can use that to make a shot or two or get an easy one off of a turnover, and then like that gives them confidence. But if the game is a little bit more herky-jerky and like you kind of have to just like figure it out on a possession by possession basis, then they don't have like the confidence from the layup off of a turnover or a steal into a wide open transition 3. Like they don't have that, and that definitely hurts their production in the closer games.
Yeah. Well, and I also think it's very interesting from games 1 and 2. The Nuggets have made that adjustment of, okay, well, Jamal Murray, you're not going to take the ball up the court as much. You're going to go move around, and then we might get it to you. But they know that a better defender is guarding, let's say Cat is guarding Aaron Gordon. Well, of course, you'd rather take that matchup over a Jaden McDaniels guarding Jamal Murray.
Yeah, well, it just puts us into a different position because we like having Jaden guard
the ball
on the ball,
especially coming up on like you're playing full court in the first few games, and you're like,
well, we don't want all the offensive guys to be wasting their energy full court pressing them.
Right.
Whereas if Jaden or Na is full court pressing, like you're not asking them to score 15 to 25 points in the game. You're asking them to score 5 to 9 and guard.
Well, yeah, you're having them play defense first, offense comes
Correct.
second. I mean,
correct.
But I think that's where it also comes into play, where it's like a guy other than Ant is going to have to step up.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, the first 2 games, it seemed like a lot of guys were stepping up every shot. I mean, we were making shots left and right.
Yeah, we
Game
shot
3.
over 50% game 1 and 2.
Yeah, game 3
And honestly,
was a
game
little
4
different.
we were almost to 50%. The only problem is the Nuggets were 60-something%.
Right. And I think, yeah, you got a lot of solid players. I think you just got to come back and play with that, the grit, and come back and play. I mean, I think at this point now, home court, I mean, obviously you want to play on your home court, and that's an advantage. But at this point, it's also just like, okay, you know you can win when you play there, so it's not as big of a thing.
You do know. Yep.
So I just think it'll be interesting to see what adjustments do we make going into Game 5 after basically night and day 1 and 2 versus 2 and 3.
Yeah, so it's obviously already happened in game 5, but
Yeah.
to put it on record, what's the adjustment that the Wolves have to make?
Well, I think we just said the big adjustment is having these guys, these role players, step up on defense and take less pressure off like an Ant, or less pressure off on the defensive end. Like Ant, I don't even know. I mean, Ant's a freak, but it really wears on like a Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, I don't know how many times Karl shot a free throw, 2 shots, and his first one literally barely hit the rim. It was short. And that's like the first. I feel like that's the first sign of fatigue.
How many free throws did he shoot?
He was 2 of 4.
Oh.
So literally, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, he had one that almost airballed, and he did the look like, what the hell? And everyone was like, oh my god, that was god awful. And then next one's a switch, which is great. But I'm just saying, like, you can't shoot 5 of 18 and be the second best player on the team.
Well, that's why we lost.
So that's what I'm saying. So that needs to change. Cat needs to step up and be the second guy.
Mm-hmm. So that's your key to the game?
Key to the game, and then key to the game is also having guys hit open threes.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, be nice. Jay McDaniel seems like he gets a wide open corner 3 a few times a game.
That's because they're leaving him. To me, the thing that we need to change is we need to stop taking stupid fouls.
Half court.
Yeah, it's like
Cat.
we try and push up, but then like at a certain point we have to just like, no, you can't just like put your hands forward at the guy. That's just stupid. And it's like we go up and pressure and we're pressuring. Okay, that's good, right? We want pressure. But then it's like they're breaking the pressure, but they're breaking it in a way that it's like, okay, we're kind of breaking it, but we just want you to try and like increase the pressure even more, and then we're gonna put you in a position where you foul us. And it's like, okay, we should pressure, but you don't have to get all handsy and just get like overly pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time that a call at half court where you try to take a charge or try to wheel the guy to this corner has worked in the defender's favor.
Never.
Cat does it at least once or twice a game. And I think Cat's is different because
Rudy did it once last game, Mike did it once, Ant did it once, Cat did it probably once or twice. It's like, what are you guys doing? You can't keep doing these stupid fouls that will literally never benefit us.
Yeah. And I also think it's one of those things with just fouls too. Like, I mean, it's been very obvious this series, but like, okay, yeah, the refs aren't the greatest, sure. Stop bitching. Like, that's like a whole, I mean, that might be the motto of the whole playoffs. Like, there's plays where Rudy...
I don't know if we've bitched too much.
There's been plays where Rudy literally shoves the guy in the back and they call it on Rudy and he instantly gets pissed off. Cat's the same way. If he doesn't get a call offensive, that's when he goes to the half court and tries to make a play. It's like, just get back on defense. Just go back. You're not going to cut the guy off. You're not... Cat is not good. Cat is not a defensive stopper.
Well, no. I don't.
So don't try to be one. Just if Jokic is taking the ball to the court, you don't have to cut him off. He's not going to dribble by you.
I think sometimes he is trying, but then like...
Trying to be a defensive player?
Well, trying to put pressure on guys, because that's probably what they're saying. Like, hey, we want to pressure full court. We want to pressure as they're dribbling the ball up. and sometimes it's like that phrase probably goes through their minds, and it's like, oh, I gotta put pressure, and then you go up, and it's like, wait, like put some pressure, but don't overly put pressure on them.
Yeah, but that just should be an obvious statement.
I mean,
that should not happen.
Sometimes it's hard to remember things.
Huh?
During games.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just
a lot happening.
Just blackout.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
But there was, I think it was game 2 that we showed pretty good poise in like resilience and in not agreeing with calls. I will say, and I want to get your opinion, what do you think of Rudy getting fined $75,000 for some supposedly...
Well, he definitely did the money gesture.
You think he did?
1,000%. If first of all, he put both his, if you're watching the YouTube, he put both his hands like this. What is this?
I don't think he moved them though.
What do you think he was trying to do?
I think he was trying to gather himself. So
Chris,
like this.
Chris.
I think he was trying to do this.
No, I don't think so.
Like gather himself like, all right.
I'll show you.
I saw the clip. I just don't think he was going like this. I think he was going like this. Like gathering, bringing him together.
I don't know. I'm indifferent about that. I think in the time and place, if that's what you're going to do, and that's your gathering.
I don't think he did it.
The hardest part is the track record is the one that speaks it. That's why he got fined. So I think, I think here's the crazy thing is.
Here's the crazy thing is Jamal Murray did the exact same thing. And
he threw a heat pad on the court.
Yeah, and he got fined the same amount that Rudy did
the first time.
Only doing this.
Correct. I think it's one of those...
That was ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. So if you're comparing it, I don't think... First of all, I don't know if I wouldn't necessarily say I disagree with Rudy's fine, because he probably knew it was coming, because that's what's been happening. But also at the same time, the Jamal Murray thing, if that's what we're going off of now, makes no sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's playoffs, and it's all about the TV revenue at that point. You don't want Jamal Murray to sit out of game 3, because most likely if he sits out...
It's becoming super obvious that the NBA doesn't want the Wolves to win.
Doesn't want the Wolves to win, and also just needs their big players.
The suspension / fine amounts.
Yeah, it's stupid. And I don't get it. I think the thing, when they talked about the Jamal Murray thing, the thing that I never understand is they always resort it back and they're like, oh, well, he has no past history. Okay.
Yeah.
Why does that matter? He still did it.
Right.
You're telling me he wasn't knowledgeable enough to just throw a heat pack on the court?
Right.
Like anybody else.
How many players in the NBA have done that before?
I haven't seen anything.
I think zero.
And also what we're bypassing is he tried to throw a towel the first time.
Right.
And then you throw a heat pad.
Right, so the history happened
2 seconds prior.
Before.
That's what I think here's the problem is, and I thought Rudy was easily doing the money sign. I mean, I don't know where this fine's coming.
So, but that's just my
opinion. And I think the hardest part is with Rudy's history. Maybe if he didn't have the other one already, it probably would have been seen differently. But also at the same time, I think it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we already fined him $100,000. Well, let's lessen it a little bit, $75,000.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's also just like one of those things in my eyes where I'm like, I don't know. It is getting pretty obvious in some of these refs and some of these calls where it's just like,
brutal.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Brutal. And I mean, the hardest part is what we've talked about is, we've talked about this with all sports and refs, which make it very difficult, is the refs are not punished in any way.
No.
And I'm not saying I wouldn't know how to punish them. Like, you can't, what are you going to do? Take them out? There's only a certain amount of refs that...
The same refs are reffing every single postseason game.
Exactly. So there's only a certain amount of refs that are deemed whatever.
So they're just shuffling around the series.
Yeah.
We just got to hope that we don't get Tony Brothers or Scott Foster.
Well, that's the thing, and it seems like
But they're only shuffling around a couple games.
Yeah. It's like, oh, they both are going to be in Denver.
Right. But tonight, Game 5, ref pairings, pretty good.
That's what I'm saying.
Neither of them.
The hard part is it's like one of those things where you look at it, it's like, obviously not sitting here blaming the refs. You still have to play the game, but also at the same time, it does make a huge difference because
it does make a difference.
Some of these times you're looking at these foul calls and they're getting 2 or 3 quick fouls in the first quarter, and you're like, well, you're sitting out for now X, Y, Z.
Yeah. And
so now you're. But the hard part is too. It's like, it is always interesting to me because it's like you said with the fines. It's like, okay, so at what point though are we just going to be like, all right, no matter who you are, this is the action, and everyone's being treated that same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're telling me right now that if Naz Reid threw a heat pack on the court, he'd be suspended. Guaranteed Naz Reid would be.
I mean, it would
maybe
be,
not now, but if he would have done it before Jamal Murray, he would be
no,
suspended.
it wouldn't have been, like, Nas is a hard one to compare because he's like a bench guy, all that stuff. So
maybe Cat.
yeah,
Cat.
I would say Cat would.
You think they would suspend Cat?
Mm,
See, he's hard to suspend though too. I'm saying the guy that would be suspended.
I don't know. I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, I don't know.
You
It
don't
just
know
makes
what
no
would be
sense. And then the
crazy?
problem is the refs came out,
Do you
and the
think-
rationale was from Adam Silver was like, well, there was like stuff that was like, well, we can't suspend him because, like, what they basically said that it wouldn't be a series if they suspended him. Okay, sorry,
Yeah, sorry.
that's a stupid play by him. Then
I should have thrown it. Do you actually think that if Cat threw a heat pack on tonight that he would get suspended the next game?
that's a money sign, Chris. Chris, just watch this live. Just watch this live.
Yeah.
Okay. He also points at the ref. This is what makes it hard. Points at him. Watch. That's a money sign. That's a no. He didn't go like this. You're telling me like
he's gathering himself.
say that again. If Cat did what?
Do you think if on Tuesday, Game 5,
Yep.
Cat threw a heat pack on the court, do you think he'd get suspended for Game 6?
I don't think you can. Because I think the problem is they've already shown that like
The precedent.
The precedent is Jamal Murray did it, so you can't. I don't think even at this point. I don't think if anyone threw a heat pack on, I don't think you could suspend them. Because then it's so you're playing favoritism, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so sure you fine them, which
Well,
probably
it's
$100,000 fine to
Cat.
Deshaun Hamilton or whatever his name is, the guy. Deshaun Nix is probably a lot more important or a lot more money than to
Oh, it's
Jamal
way
Murray.
more.
So
But what if Cat does it? I almost
I don't know.
like I don't want it to happen, but in like the back of my mind, as long as it's like guaranteed nobody would get hurt or anything. Like I kind of want it to
just to see what the result was.
just to see what would happen, because if they suspended Cat for doing it and they didn't do it for Jamal, then that would be like, all right, well, this is obviously rigged.
Yeah, I think here's what I could see happening.
So in the back of my mind, I kind of hope it happens.
See that happen?
It's
Yeah.
not. I don't think it's going to, obviously, but
I don't think we're dumb enough to do that, or any of us would be. But I do think at the same time, I think it would be very interesting if after this year they came out and were like, all right, if you throw anything on a court during play, you're suspended 1 game.
that's pretty much what it's supposed to be.
But that's what I'm saying. They're going to come out now and reiterate it, and they're going to say this is also part of the playoffs, whatever. I mean, I think, like you said, I mean, it is obvious, though. I mean, you watch superstar players or these players, they get more calls than these random guys do.
Right, yeah.
That's why it's always hard for a small market team to make anything in the playoffs. When you're playing a team, it's like you could do the exact same actions. Mm-hmm. And it would, I mean, I don't know. I hope it doesn't happen, because knowing us, we'd throw something on the court and somebody would get hurt.
Yeah.
Somebody would slip on it and then be like,
That's the
I mean,
issue.
even
We
last
know
game,
that.
Rudy was trying to pick up Cat and he slipped, and I thought he almost tore his ACL.
Yeah. That was
So we don't even need a heat pack. You know, I don't want that. I do think, to your point, it would be very interesting to be like,
to see what they would do.
because oh my God, they would have a riot. It would be a riot.
Mm-hmm.
So predictions. Well, I guess how do you do you think that this series will go to 7 games? I guess that would be my question.
I mean, I hope Wolves in 6, but
Wolves in 6. Yeah.
you never know
Never know. And
till it happens.
tonight will be a big story. I mean, I don't think either of us expected to lose both at home. But
I was hopeful that we were gonna win at least one. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck.
But what do? You just play the games that you're given.
Play the games that are on the schedule, baby.
Yep.
Can't simulate them. This isn't NBA Live, baby.
No, you cannot.
Attaboy. So,
Alrighty.
catch you next week.
See ya.
Bye. Can you imagine if we threw a heat back on the court?
Yeah, it would be